this video I'm going to be demonstrating the Kitchener stitch, also known as grafting or live grafting, which is basically when you create a seamless join in order to connect two lines of knitting. This join creates essentially another row of knitting, so it has all of the benefits of the knitted fabric, which means lots of flexibility both width-wise and also lengthwise. And as you can see, I'm pulling around here. I previously grafted this sock toe and you can't see any join at all, so it's pretty invisible, which is why I think it gets called grafting. So the most common project that I use this technique on is at the toe of a sock, because after I've knitted down the whole sock, I end up with my stitches that I finish with at the end here, and I want to be able to join them together to seal up the toe of the sock without any seams that might rub on my foot and cause discomfort. Other places where you might use this technique are at the edges of a shoulder or something like that. And also if you want to do some alterations, you know, if you've chopped up an old knitting project and you want to pick up the old stitches and join a new piece of knitting on, something like that. This technique is not difficult at all. We'll just start by gathering our materials and getting prepared. So I'm just going to put this finished sock to one side and I'm going to set up with my live stitches here. You can see that I've been knitting in the round to get to the end of my sock, and I've got 3 needles containing stitches, and I just want to make sure that I'm only going to be dealing with 2 sets of live stitches. So to make things easier for myself, here I am just going to set up my needles for grafting. I've got the top of the sock here, which has got the full amount of stitches, and then on the sock sole I had divided the stitches up for knitting in the round. So I'm just going to put those onto the same needle now, just transferring them across. And I'm just going to get rid of that remaining needle, put them to one side. So the only tools that you need for grafting are a pair of snips, and you're going to be doing the actual technique with a yarn needle, an embroidery or tapestry needle as it's otherwise called. And I'm going to start off by chopping myself a nice end of yarn. And in general, I would go for about 3 to 4 times the amount of width, but when it comes to socks, I tend to just pull out about a foot or 30 centimetres, and that generally ends up being enough. So get rid of that yarn because I don't need it anymore. And here I am with my 2 sets of stitches. So I'm just setting myself up by carefully sliding the needles down so that the stitches are a little bit closer to the ends of the needles, just like they would be if you were going to knit them. I'll thread the yarn needle. And now I'm ready to start. So what I'm doing now is essentially creating one more row of knitting by threading the yarn, using my needle, threading the yarn through the 2 sets of live stitches in a wiggly loop so that it looks like the wiggles of a line of knitting. And it's not difficult at all, but what you do need to remember is the direction that your tapestry needle is inserted into the stitches through will change. So firstly, just to recap, when you insert a tapestry needle as if to knit, you're going into the stitch from the front, like that. So it's going from the front to the back, and it's going from left to right. So your tapestry needle is imitating a knitting needle. When you insert the tapestry needle as if to purl, it's going the other way around. So it's going from right to left, and it's going from the back of the stitch towards the front. So that is the main difference that you just need to hold on to. When you're inserting the needle as if to knit, it's from left to right and from front to back. When you're inserting the needle as if to purl, it's the other way around, right to left and from back to front. And if you get confused, just literally think about the way that you'd be moving your knitting needle if you were working with it. All right, let's get started with the grafting. You just need to memorise this simple chant, which goes knit, purl, purl, knit, right? So it's not too hard. Knit, purl, purl, knit. And what do I mean by that? Let me demonstrate. So you've got your yarn in your tapestry needle, insert it into the first stitch as if to knit, pull it all the way through, and then you slide that stitch off the needle, so that's gone. Then you insert it as if to purl, so it's right to left, pull it through. You don't pull that one off the needle, just leave that one there. So we've done that onto our front needle. Now we go to our back needle, and if you want, you can see I'm just pulling out my front needle a little bit more just to protect the live stitches. Now we're onto our back needle, and we're inserting the tapestry needle as if to purl, all the way through and off. And then we insert it as if to knit all the way through and don't slide it off. Let me do that again. So again, I'm going to pull out the back needle a little bit just to protect my stitches and push the front needle backwards so that I can access those live stitches a lot more easily. Insert the needle as if to knit and slide the stitch off. Insert the needle as if to purl and don't slide the stitch off. Then go back to the back needle, insert the needle as if to purl, slide it off. Insert it as if to knit, don't slide it off. And we're just gently tugging on the yarn, not too tight and not too loose. This is something that you'll just get the hang of as you go through it and practice the grafting stitch. Let's talk through that again. Go to the front needle, insert the tapestry needle as if to knit, left to right, and pull it off. Insert it as if to purl, right to left. Don't pull it off. Go to the back needle, insert it as if to purl, slide it off, insert it as if to knit, don't slide it off. Okay, so this is where the little chant that we went through just now really comes into its own, because you go knit, off, purl, purl, off, knit. You can see our grafting here to the side. That bit of fabric has started to come through there with the stitches finished, and we've got more live stitches on the left here. Okay, let's do that again. Knit, purl, purl, knit. Back to the front, knit, off, purl, purl, off, knit. And you can see the whole time that I'm doing this, I'm kind of manipulating my double-pointed knitting needles. I'm just kind of moving them around quite swiftly just to help me access these live stitches, to help me push them off the needle when I need to do that, and then to kind of rescue them and push them back so that they don't fall off when I'm not working with that particular needle. So now I'll just keep going without speaking so that you can watch me finish this off. Just to recap, knit from the left to the right, off, purl from the right to the left, on, purl from the right to the left, off the needle, knit from the left to the right, on the needle. So now I'm coming up to the end of my grafting, and you can see that my sock toe is looking pretty nice over there. My tension's settled down as I've worked through and across the sock toe as well. It's not very visible, but also this being a sock toe, this is not going to be very visible anyway. So let's talk about how to finish off the grafting. So knit and off the needle, purl and leave it on, back needle, purl and off the needle, knit and leave it on. Now I've only got one left on each needle, so I'm simply going to insert as if to knit, push it off, insert as if to purl, push it off. Get rid of those needles, and that is it, finished. So my stitches are a little bit loose at the end there, and what I tend to do is just weave in the ends, and as I do that, you know, I'm inserting it into the fabric and I'm doing some kind of duplicate stitch, and as I go around and weave in the ends, I'm just kind of tucking in that little loose loop of yarn. You know, you can catch it under your needle, just stitch it down, but it's a very small part of the fabric, and you can do this much more beautifully as well. But essentially I'm just doing some duplicate stitch around the area, which will catch down any looseness of the last couple of stitches, plus it's stitching in my end for me here too. Just go into that stitch, duplicate stitch there, that kind of catching that end, and stitch it down. And you can do this quite discreetly and you can't really notice it as well once it's been done. There's not really that much to see there, is there? And then all that remains is to stitch in the ends of my sock. And that's that, my grafted sock toe. The join is pretty much invisible. If you have had some issues with your tension, now's the time to just pick up your DPN or your yarn needle again. And if you want, you know, you can just do a few tugs here and there across the row to distribute a little bit of slack if you need to, or, you know, kind of add in, you know, a little bit more thread if you're a little bit tight. But actually, if you just pull it across as well, that can even things out, and also blocking can even things out too. But moreover, this in particular is a pair of socks, so just by merit of wearing them, you know, it will kind of get evened out as well, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, that's my grafted sock toe. And if I turn it inside out, you can also see on the wrong side there's no selvage, no seam allowance and no join. So it's really a perfectly flexible piece of fabric, which makes it very comfortable to wear. And it's quite invisible as well. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have, do drop me a comment and hit the like button down below and subscribe to the Crimson Stitchery if you haven't done so already for more tutorials, tips, tutorials, as well as regular vlogs that share what I've been making, just like this really sweet pair of little scrap socks that I've created as a gift for a friend. I'm also currently expanding on my tutorial videos. We have a sock masterclass playlist, for example, and I'm developing all of these resources to help empower you, upskill yourself and develop your knitting techniques, thanks to the support of my patrons over on Patreon. So if that's something that you're interested in checking out, do hop over to patreon.com/thecrimsonstitchery to learn more. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you at the Crimson Stitchery again sometime soon. Happy knitting!